Hi everyone, my name's Phil and welcome to PhilDoes3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the US. That will be 4 PM now that daylight savings is finished for you guys over there in the US. 11 AM in Australia and 12 AM in the UK. Let's just load up the file we were working on yesterday. I want to shout out a thank you to KKZoo38 for the follow. I always appreciate it when you guys follow my channel, so thank you. Yesterday we finished up working on the rings around the top of the dome, so we're just going to finish that part of the texturing up now, and then we'll move on to the bottom ring, and then we'll probably move on to the balcony railings or the columns. Hope you guys are well. Just waiting for Max to finish loading in the file. There we go. Yeah, so yesterday we finished up, we were texturing this top ring. So we'll probably continue doing that now, and then we'll move on to this bottom ring. So let's jump into Mari and open up our project we were working on yesterday, that top ring. I just want to add a bit of detail to a bit of water damage and dirt detail to the outside of the ring. Okay, let's start by throwing on a new layer, and let's find a good dirt texture for the these two outside edges of the ring. So let's see. Let's have a look at this one. Just going to scale that back a little bit. That could be interesting. Just got to work out whether I want it from the bottom or from the top. I think from the top, so I'm going to I'll rotate it around. We'll zoom in on our model. I'm doing that by holding down the Alt key and the right mouse button. I am going to turn masking on, so I'm going to go to my project tab and turn on edge mask. Okay. So we're working on a new layer, layer 5. I'm just going to start painting that in. Again, we've got masking turned on, so we won't affect the top or the bottom here. I'm just going to bake that down by hitting the Alt key. We'll rotate our model around. Again, angling it back, not forward, but back. And working directly front onto the model, not working at an extreme angle. Okay, we'll bake that down. Just going to rotate my texture around just a little bit. Again, as I'm working, if there's anything you don't understand or anything you want more information about, or anything at all that you're just not sure of when it comes to 3D or texturing or rendering, feel free to pop into the chat and ask me. I'll do my best to answer you. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's cool too. If you just want to lurk and watch, then that's completely fine as well. Okay. Bake that down. I'll rotate my texture just a little bit. I'm also going to rotate the model up a little, just like that, just so I have a bit more room between the this edge here and this edge here. Just in case I go over a little, I want to hit the masking and not hit the lower edge. So bake that down. Okay, we'll bake it down. Now again, I'm using a program called Mari by the Foundry, and they do have a free version that you can use. I think it's for non-commercial purposes. If you head on over to their website, if you just search for for Mari, M-A-R-I, on Google by the Foundry, you should be able to find it, and there'll be a link to download the software on their webpage. You don't have to use Mari, of course. A lot of people like to use Substance Painter, which is another good program. Bake that down. Or you can, of course, just use Photoshop if you don't really want to paint on the 3D model itself. I just find it easier to paint directly on the model, and that way I don't have to keep jumping backwards and forwards between Photoshop and Max to check the texture. Bake that down. And we'll join the two of them up. Just rotate that around a little bit. No, I did hit the lower edge just there, but just a little with black, so it's probably not going to show up at all anyway. Again, that's why I always recommend rotating the model, so you have a bit of a thicker line between this top part and the bottom part with the masking. It'll just help you to avoid hitting the bottom by mistake. I'll bake that in. Let's zoom out a bit and move that texture down and look at our layer styles here. Just going to pull that back. Okay, now I'm going to work on a new layer. Throw on as many layers as you want, and I recommend you always use a new layer for any different part of the model you're going to be working on. Let's see what this one looks like. And again, this one will work quite well. I'm just going to rotate it around. I'm going to zoom in a bit on the model, like that. And again, I'm going to be angling the model up. I'm going to slightly reduce the size of that texture. Okay, again, we're working on a new layer. Paint that in and bake it down. And again, try and work directly on the part, the front, directly facing the model where you're actually applying the texture to avoid any stretching happening. So just rotate the model around as you're painting on it. Okay, we'll bake that down. Rotate that texture a little bit. Press the Alt key again, bake it down. Okay, we'll bake that down. Bake it down. Okay, bake that down. And we're almost joined up again, so let's just position this texture. Okay, and we'll bake that down. I'm just going to move the texture out of the way and change our layer style here. And again, pull it back a bit. Okay, again, I'm going to throw on a new layer. And I just want to add a few little interesting bits here and there, so not that one. No, not that one. I'm looking for an interesting white part of the texture now, not the dark part, so that one might work. Let's just see if we can't find something a little better. Just going to scale it up. This one might be interesting. Again, we're working on a new layer. We'll work on the top part here. Actually, I'm just going to pull this one in, scale it back. I think this one might be better. Bake it down. Now I'm not going to cover the entire outside edge with this new texture. I'm just going to paint in bits and pieces here and there. So I'm going to move around a bit more. Maybe around here. Maybe to here. We'll bake that down. Move around a little more to around here. And maybe just this bit through here. And maybe just this bit through here. We'll bake it in. Again, I'm going to move around to about here. And we'll grab it from here. And we'll grab it down to maybe here. Bake it in. And move around to around about here. Might throw a longer piece in through here. So we'll grab all of that, bake it in, and we'll grab all of that. Bake that down. Okay, now we're just about back to where we were, so I'm just going to zoom out a little, move our texture down, and change our layer style and pull our value back a little. Okay. Alright, now let's throw on one more layer. And let's grab another texture. This one might work. Just going to zoom in on our model a bit more. And I'll increase our texture a bit. Now I'm going to paint again just here and there along the edge here. So I'm not so concerned with the black part of the texture here, I'm more concerned with the white. I'm going to bake that down. I'm just going to move that out of the way, and before I continue on around that edge, I'm going to play with layer style. I might even put an invert on this one. Adjustment stack, invert. Okay, multiply and pull it back just a little. All right, let's move around our model a bit more. That just helps you if you don't want to wait until you painted the entire model to see whether it's going to work for you or not. You can just do a little section of the texture, and now when you paint it, you're going to be seeing that the effect of those adjustments in the layer stack. Okay, I'll back that down. I'll move around. I'm actually going to make my texture a little larger. Back it in. Maybe this bit through here. And maybe a bit through here. And now we're back around again. So let's export this texture out. So I'm just going to save the project. And go into our channel and right click, go export flattened, export everything flattened. We're in our proper directory. It's remember the name that we were working on yesterday, so we'll leave it the same. We'll export all patches, and yes, we want to overwrite the old file. Okay, let's jump back into Max. The texture's gone black. Just go into your material editor. Load up, select the bitmap and reload the texture. And that'll bring it back. So let's just zoom in a bit here and have a look. I think that's okay. That'll work okay for us. Let's jump down to this bottom ring here. Again, we're going to throw on a temporary color, just as a base color for us to work on top of. And we use this one here. So it's going to assign that to the object. We'll go into our modify panel, and I'm going to just throw on a cylindrical mapping and change our texture a little bit here. Our tiling a little bit, I should say. Okay, now I'm going to put unwrap UVW on. We're going to go down to the map channel and change it to channel 2. We'll move our UVs across. Open the UV editor. We will select all of our UVs. Go to mapping, flatten mapping. Default values are fine. Okay. Now we want to go to render, render to texture. We're going to use existing channel 2, which is the one we just made. We're going to add a diffuse map. We're going to set the texture resolution at 2K. And set the path to our texture to the rework folder. This is dome ring bottom. We'll leave it as that. I don't want diffuse map written at the end of it, so I'm just going to delete it. We'll save it as a target file .tga, and 24-bit is fine. Okay, so we have use existing channel 2, we have our diffuse map, we have our texture size and our texture path. Let's just render. Okay, we can close that down and close down the render to texture. Let's set up our shader so it's ready for us when we jump backwards back into Mari and then back into Max. I always add my new textures to the bottom of that stack there, that way I know where to find them. Bitmap. Again, we'll jump into our rework folder, and this is dome ring bottom. I'll hook that into our diffuse channel and turn on show shaded map in viewport and show realistic material in viewport. We'll assign that material to the object, deselect our UVs here. Now we go to the utilities tab, channel info, and open up that. We're going to copy the UVs from channel 2 into channel 1 and clear out channel 2. Okay, I'm just going to copy that name there, and we're going to go to File, come on Max, File, Export, Export selected. Again, I'm going to work with our rework folder, and we're going to be saving it as an OBJ. Copy in the name of the model and export. Alright, let's quickly jump back into Mari now. We've saved our project here. Let's create a new project. Okay, we're copying our name there, which is dome ring bottom. I'm just going to change my path here, my temp directory path. Let's load up the OBJ we just exported, so that's in our rework folder. And it's dome ring bottom. We're going to create a 2K texture map in the color channel. Okay. Mari's projects default to shaded view, and I like to turn on flat shading just so that we get a better look at the texture we're painting on without the shading, without the shadowing getting in the way. We have masking turned on. I'm just going to turn that off really quickly for the moment, and load up some textures. Again, as I was saying yesterday, you can pull in as many textures as you want into Mari. You won't be affecting your memory usage on a computer. Mari just has a pointer to the texture files. It's not physically loading them into the program, so don't worry about running out of memory by loading up too many textures. And it's good to have a wide variety to use as you're painting anyway. Gives you a lot more options. Okay, let's grab a few more. Okay. We'll just wait for them to load up. Alright, and I just want to grab one more folder. And I believe it's this one here. It has the texture we've been working with for those rings in it, so I'm just going to grab those. And again, with this one, we'll work the same as the top ring. We'll start with that wider centerpiece, and then we'll work on the lower piece, and then the top and the bottom, and then the inside ring. Alright, let's throw on a new layer and save our project. Okay. Just zoom in a bit. I am just turning on basic lighting just so I can get a better view of the top and the bottom ring and the middle piece here. Normally I turn it to flat shaded, but with flat shaded here, it's very hard to see the centerpiece that we want to paint into, so I'm just turning on basic lighting is good enough. We don't need full shaded lighting. Basic lighting is okay. Let's find that texture we were working with. I believe it's called England 15. If that's it there, England 15. Let's pull that in. Let's zoom in on our model here a bit. I'm going to angle it down just slightly. I may turn masking back on for a second. Okay, I'll switch it back off again. Let's move our texture in and scale it up a little bit. I'm just going to do a test piece just here. I want to see if I'm hitting that center piece as I want. I'll bake that down. And I'm not. Okay. So it needs to be smaller. Bake it down. And just a tad smaller again. All right. Bake it down. it looks like it needs to still be a bit smaller. Okay. That should be good there, I think. Yeah, that'll work. Don't worry about the top or the bottom. We're only concerned with the middle piece here at the moment. And I'm going to angle it up just a little, just so I can see that line. That's just a visual reminder to me where that top of that ledge is. So let's move the texture here. And again, it doesn't matter if you're painting over where we're painting, because we're going to be painting on the top and the bottom ledge anyway. So let's make that down. Move our model around, rotate it a little. Let's move our texture maybe to there.